Hello and welcome to Project Management Exercise A. In this tutorial, I'm going to walk through how to do Exercise A. So to begin with, I'm on the My Suffolk page, and I'm going to go ahead and log in. And then I'm going to go over to Blackboard. As I get to Blackboard, I'll choose one of the current project management classes that I'm teaching. I'm going to switch the interface so that it looks like what students see. And I'm going to click Course Materials, Exercises, Exercise A. Now I have a PDF here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this PDF. To make it easier on myself, I could actually just open it in Acrobat. So I've gone ahead and done that. And I'm going to move it over a little bit to the side. And let's go ahead and increase the size a little. It doesn't want to make this easy on me. I don't want the margin. Okay, that'll be okay. Alright, now I'm going to boot up Microsoft Project, because I see that this is a tutorial designed for Microsoft Project 2010. Now I've got Windows 7 installed with Microsoft Project 2010 using Parallels on my Mac, and that's what you're seeing boot up right now. If you don't have Microsoft Project on your machine, you can use the lab on the 5th floor of the Sawyer building where there's Microsoft Project installed. Okay. Now, as of yet, we don't actually have a need for Microsoft Project because the instructions haven't told me so. So let's just go back. There's Microsoft Project. And to get to Microsoft Project, just in case you are wondering how to get to it, you can go to the Start menu and you can type Project and let it search, and it will bring up Microsoft Project. That's the easy way. If you want to find software on your computer, that's one way to do it. Of course, you can also go through all programs and then go to Microsoft Office, and then you can find Microsoft Project. Okay, so that's another way to find it. And it should open to this default screen that you're seeing here. Now let's go back over to the tutorial. And I'm going to scroll down. Introduction, Microsoft Project provides a core project management tool. All right. Now the point of this project is to get you up to speed on the basic use of Microsoft Project. So I just opened Microsoft Project. We begin with a Gantt chart. So if I click back over here, this on the right side is the frame for a Gantt chart, and I've got some other views available. Now this menu on the left is not actually showing up in my screen. I think I can actually turn it on. If you don't see this view, I think you can turn on the quick launch view. But it doesn't particularly matter because you can get to all the different kinds of views through these buttons on the view sheet. And there's even this more views button. We're going to be using those in a minute. So think of this as an introduction to Microsoft Project. And don't worry too much about that. We're going to figure out all those pieces and how they work. All right, so I've just turned on the view bar. All right, So now it looks just like what I see here. And I see also, it says here that my tasks are set for manual scheduling. Indeed, they are set for manual scheduling. I see that at the bottom. Okay, let's keep going down. And so, scroll down. There's our first screen, and I'm going to keep going. To begin this new project, we can open a new project and select blank project. Now, I already have a blank project open here, so I don't need to open a new one. But in case yours didn't start with a blank project, this would be how you would begin. I need to name my project, so I'm going to name it as my last name, New Wine Brand 1. So let's go ahead, save the project. So I'm going to go ahead and save the project. Save. And we'll call this Thomas New Wine Brand 1. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and save it. Done. And now the autosave is going to help. It's going to automatically save every so often. Enter time-related information so that the software can automatically build project schedules and calculate costs. On the Project tab, click on Project Information to view the project information window and enter the start date. So we're actually going to change our start date to be March 1st, this year, so 2014. So let's go ahead and do that. Project information. So I'm going to go to Project. I'm going to click Project Information, and I'm going to set the start date over here to March 1st. March 1st is a Saturday. It's going to tell me that later on it'll tell me that that's a non-working day, but that's fine. Now we're going to go down. We've done that. We set it to March 1st. We're going to set the working time for the project. So we need to figure out when St. Patrick's Day is, because at our company it turns out that they take St. Patrick's Day off. So let's go out here onto Google for a second. And I'm going to go ahead and St. Patrick's Day 2014. And Google tells me it's March 17th. So I'm going to adjust the instructions to fit the current year. And we're going to go to the Project tab, change working time, and we're going to enter St. Patrick's Day. So change working time, I'm on the Project tab, and down here I'm going to write St. Patrick's Day. And it's going to be on March 17th. And it automatically turned it to red. So it says there's an exception for St. Patrick's Day on the standard calendar now. So what we've just done is we have indicated that people will not be working on that day. And so Microsoft Project won't schedule any work that day. The reason this is important is that it helps us be more accurate figuring out how quickly this project can get done. We're going to leave everything else as use default, so that should be fine. And our options should be fine. We can check those if we want, so I can come back over here and see our standard work time is exactly as suggested, and the options are set as well. Okay. New tasks created. We're going to be changing this later. Maybe I should just change it now. I'm going to go ahead and turn everything to auto scheduled and hit OK. And we'll see how that affects things later. And now you'll see new tasks are auto scheduled. All right, so we've done that. There's a screenshot. Our basic setup is now complete, and we're now going to get things going on our Gantt chart. So we're on the Gantt chart view already, and there's an entry table on the left, which is like a little spreadsheet with rows that are all blank. We're going to enter a bunch of task names from the next slide. After you enter a task name in manual mode, notice that the default duration is not entered. In automatic mode, 1 day should be automatically entered. So if you want, you can switch it back to manual mode and test that out. I've already switched it to automatic mode because we're going to be using that for this tutorial. On the Format tab, check the Project Summary task box to show the top line of the entry table. This is where the project will show up. Project name. So Format tab, Project Summary task. So Format tab, Project Summary task, and sure enough, there's the first task. And then to create subsets of tasks in the formatting toolbar at the top, you should see 2 green arrows. You can use these to create subtasks. So we're going to go do that now. These tasks in the screenshot were entered manually. We're going to be entering tasks in automatic mode. Well, okay, here. Well, let's switch it to manual for a moment, and then it'll look exactly the same. So setup, production, run, clean, and prepare. Press. Oops. Aside from a few small spelling mistakes here. And let's just keep going. Sterilize. Packing and transport gear. Ferment batch. I'm just typing in all of the different pieces directly from the slide. We can see that the duration is not being entered. Now the fictional story here is that we work for a wine company, and we've been asked to create a new wine brand in time for the Christmas holidays. So we're trying to set this project up and see if we can get it done in time. Okay. And so we went around and talked to some people in the company and asked them, what are the things we need to do and when do we need to do them? And we came up with this list. And then we stuck it in Microsoft Project. So now, in order for these changes to show up, we're going to have to switch everything over to auto. So I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to select all of these guys. Like that. And I'm going to switch the task mode. Oops. Let's see if I can do it right here to auto schedule. Now as soon as I did that, it put together all these pieces of additional data. So Microsoft Project is calculating a lot of stuff in the background. Just something to note about it. And it put these bars out here, so our Gantt chart is beginning to build. Okay, and now we know if things get highlighted in blue, it means there's a change. For each task that's entered, you can add additional details in the task notes. So if we had extra details, we could do that. I can actually come over here and I can pull up a task by double-clicking on it, and there's a notes section, and I can type a note like be sure to use press number 2. I don't know, maybe that would be a note that's important. And then you see this little icon comes up that I can hover over about that task. And I could write anything there. Okay. And, so you try that. Go ahead and write this one on filter and pack in green in bottles. Enter task predecessor data. Now we're going to define which tasks come before and which tasks come after the others. And so now if we look down, we'll see there's some more information here. So let's go ahead and move this over, and we're going to put in these relationships. So if I come back over to the tutorial, I can see that I've got this predecessors column. Now I just made it visible by moving things over a little. And task 2 is a predecessor for task 3. Now as soon as I put that in, I don't know if you noticed this, but in the Gantt chart over here, it drew a line and it started task 3 after task 2 because that's the relationship between them. And so I'm going to keep going down and I'm going to write in these other ones. And as I do that, my Gantt chart is building itself. And so now if I scroll over, I see that there's these 2 cascading rainbows of tasks going on. And I'll keep scrolling down. Now some of these tasks are summary tasks, such as number 1, 4, and 9. And what we're going to do is I'm going to select 2 and 3, and I'm going to go back to, let's see, the task tab, and I'm going to indent. And when I did that, you'll notice in the Gantt chart it made this bar at the top, and now these 2 tasks are underneath number 1, which is a summary. And then these guys are also underneath task 4, and 10 through 14 are underneath task 9. So now we've got summary tasks, built in, and we can see them in the Gantt chart. So we're starting to see this Gantt chart become more detailed. All right. Now if I come down, I see that it's there. This particular view is the tracking Gantt. So if I want to see it more like this picture on the side, I can scroll over to a different Gantt view here. And it's actually showing me in red the critical path of this project, the longest path, the one that's determining how quickly this project can get done. So I'm going to switch back to the normal Gantt view, and we're going to go ahead and keep looking down. So enter resources. So now we're going to enter the people who are going to be getting these tasks done. This is going to be on the Resource tab, Resource Sheet, in the drop-down list from the Team Planner button. So there's a couple of different ways to get to this. We're about to do that. And here are our people and how much they get paid. So I'm going to come back over to the Resource tab, Team Planner button, and I'm going to turn on the Resource Sheet. And here is our Resource Sheet. Now to make this a little easier to follow, I'm going to go ahead and shrink Windows down a little. And I can go ahead and type these guys in. So let's do that. Get myself a little more space. Now what's going to happen as I type these in is we're going to be able to derive some form of cost for this project. And that's part of our goal initially, is the CEO or whoever asks us to estimate a project wants some basic idea of how long it's going to take and how many people, etc. And so that's what we're doing at this point, is we're trying to get a basic idea. We all realize it's not going to be perfect, but you know, what are we dealing with? What kind of scope, what kind of size? And that's what I'm going to go ahead and get to the CEO at this point. And in a lot of project situations, this is exactly what they'll ask first. You know, give me a sense of how much it's going to cost, how many people are going to be involved, do we have the resources? Even though we know that the initial estimate is not that accurate, they want something. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to come up with an estimate in this first exercise set. Now, if we're successful, then we're going to be able to get this project funded, and then we're going to have to come back and become more specific with how we're going to get it done. I'll just finish putting in all the different workers. In an enterprise version of Microsoft Project in a company, they may well have this tied in to the human resources system already, in which case these rates and other pieces would automatically be there. For our purposes, we don't have that. We're doing this completely in our own version of Microsoft Project as a standalone, and so we don't have to worry so much. One thing we didn't do just now is we didn't add the group. I should do that. So let me make sure I get those. Okay. And I'm going to come back, assign people to tasks. So we're going to go back to the Gantt chart, and we're going to assign people to the tasks, and we'll see how that goes. So here we are. We're going to go to this resource names column and assign people to tasks. So let me come back over, squeeze the screen down a little bit so that we can see it all. I'm going to click Gantt chart, and I'm going to squeeze down the columns a little bit so that we've got a little more space to see what's what. And I can see that the resource names is right here. And I'll go ahead and clean and prepare press is Arthur. And look, there's Arthur. He came right in. Fred, there's Fred. Fred. So here it's telling me that Fred's over allocated. I'm going to let that happen for now. Oops. Sorry, I should have skipped a line there, shouldn't I? Fred. This time I've got Fred. Fred, and then after Fred, I've got Helmut. And after Helmut, and I'm just hitting a comma and then pushing the right arrow, and then Mary. And so now I've got 3 people. If you've been noticing, as I add this information, the names are showing up in the Gantt chart so that it's easy to see who's in charge of which tasks. So there's Helmut. Oops. Try to get back into the text here. There we go. And comma. Yolanda, and then we've got Fred again here. We're going to skip a line, and then Naboke, and Shalini, and Mike, now if I want to, I can actually double click this task and go to resources and do it this way. So that's another way to do this. I can type in Mary here, and helmet. By default, it's putting everybody on this thing 100%. If I double click back, I can see it's calculating the cost based on how much a full day of labor for each of those people. Now, we're going to get back to that in a minute because these durations are actually going to be different than a full day. Okay, so let's come back and let's scroll down a little. So we have the rest of our tasks and Yolanda. And then finally we've got, on this last one, we've got Mike. Oops. Mike and Mary and helmet. Click OK. And now we've got all our people in. Now you'll see in my screenshot here I've actually got the task pane turned on. You can do that by right clicking in here. A lot of the time you can right click. I think let me see here. Right click and where is my task information pane? Let's see here. Task information, view, task usage. I want to show the task pane in the bottom. I can't see. Task form. I should be able to split the screen. And now I'm not remembering how. Well, I don't know that we need it right now. It would still be nice to have it. This is the other. There's the task form. Somehow I'm forgetting how to put the task form up with the Gantt chart. You'll notice I'm kind of looking around to see if I can pull them up at the same time. Split view. Details. Task. There it is. There it is. I knew it was in there somewhere. So you can actually have it set up so that as you click a task, it shows you all the details down here, some of them, and it allows you to make changes as you go. Due to the screen space, I haven't been doing that, but it might be something useful for you as you're building project plans. All right, now we're getting down there. We can see already there's this network diagram under Task Network Diagram. And so I can click over here and pick up the network diagram, and it's already showing me the structure inside of this this project. Now I just right-clicked in here and zoomed it to the entire project. That option's often available, and this is showing me the structure of how everything relates. It's very linear. I've got 3 sets of tasks that are linear, and no connections between them, apparently. In reality, that's not true. There are connections between them, but for now, that's all I have in my plan. All right? And so I might use that to check and see if something's missing. Maybe I need to add a predecessor relationship. Okay? And that's what we just saw. We just zoomed it. Now we're going to put in the durations of the tasks. It needs to be on auto schedule. We've already turned it on auto schedule, and so it should be fine. If we come over here and come back to our Gantt chart, we've got these durations. And so now I can go down and see that under clean and prepare press is going to be 3 days. And sterilize the packing is 2 days. And notice the question mark is gone now because I've told it how long that time is. You don't set the number on the summary task. That's automatically calculated. You only set it on the other tasks. So this is going to be 3 days. Test and augment. Oh, sorry, this is 40 days. And 8 days for the test and augment. 10 days for filter and pack. 100 days for ferment and monitor. Labeling is going to take 1 day. 2 days to assess the pricing. 5 days to pack in crates. 2 days to inspect and complete, and 1 day to load and ship. And now if I look at my project plan, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the details pane so that we can see more. There's no longer any question. It's telling me that this project will complete by the end of September based on what it knows. Great. So I've got some information. It looks like it's doable. Now, if we check on mash and ferment initial run, we'll see that this thing was set as fixed use units and not effort driven. That means that if we change the duration, the total amount of work will not change. In other words, you can't put more people on the fermentation process to make fermentation move faster. Doesn't matter how many people are working on that task. Fermentation only goes as fast as it goes. And so Microsoft Project has a lot of detailed information in here that we may not usually be thinking about, but it's important for tasks if you're going to define them in a piece of software. So we can see just what we just read. Here's task type, fixed units. Effort driven is not checked, so you can't speed this up. All right, so do read through this part. This is important for you to understand about what these different pieces mean. So we're going to switch task 14 to fixed work and then undo that, and you can see a little bit of change for the hours of the employees if you then change the duration. So go ahead and do that and then undo it and keep coming. At this point we're going to save a baseline for our project. So saving a project baseline, we're going to do that under the project set baseline. So I'll click project and then set baseline, and we're going to go ahead and set the basic baseline and hit OK. And then save. So back to file, save. Okay, so everything is saved. And then we can update tasks. You'll see there's a bunch of other information here that talks about ways to do things and what different options mean. For now, I don't think we're changing any of that because we've completed this first initial view of our project and how it's going to work, and we can now use that to estimate when it can be done. And that's it. That's it for exercise A.